Hello, welcome to another fast and fun video, and in this week's video I'm taking a look at my 15-year-old 115,000 mile 2005 Renaultsport Clio 182. Clio 182 followed the earlier Clio 172, which came out in about 2000 and ran for about 4 years. When the Clio 182 came out, there was sort of lots of versions and people really sort of got confused, and there's really only 4 versions to think of which one of them's a combination. The first one was the standard Sport, and the 182 Sport came stacked with lots of goodies actually. So yes, you had ABS, but you had things like Xeon headlights, you had climate control, half leather, you even had cruise control. But then Renaultsport said, you know what, these are really ideal track cars. They came out with a stripped out lightweight version, which they called the Cup, took out some of the leather seats, some of the goodies to make it a little bit lighter, a little bit more track focused. And then there was the halfway house that said, well actually, there may be people that want all the Sport version, but they want the Cup goodies, which was a lower ride height, firmer suspension, a spoiler pack, which was a front split and a rear spoiler. And they came up with the Full Fat, which was basically the Sport with both Cup packages. Then right at the end of the run, they also came up with the limited run 500 only trophies, which came with the clever, sophisticated Sachs damper system. This one's the 182 Full Fat, so it's got both Cup packages, and you can always tell the Cup packages. Clearly the 8-spoke anthracite alloys are the biggest giveaway, and compared to a standard Sport, it just sits that little bit lower. Okay, let's take a look round the 182. So the first thing I want to talk about really is the weight of the car. I've done an earlier video, which I'll put up at the top here, that talked about why I bought this car, but really because for me it's the last generation of the really lightweight cars. And over the last week I've been watching some fantastic videos on the new Toyota Yaris GR, which is the 4-wheel drive, 270 horsepower, pocket rocket, full rally car that's been created by Toyota. Looks absolutely fabulous, but it's over 30k, and they're calling it's lightweight is the key to that car being successful. It comes in at 1,300 kilograms. Well, the Clio 182's, the Full Fat version here, is about 1,100 kilos, so it's a whole 200 kilograms lighter than the latest Toyota Yaris GR. And that just shows you what's happened in the last 15 years with weight. Some of the great perks, talking of weight here, some of the weight savings. This is the front wing, and as you can see here, look at that. Because they're just plastic wings, so they just pop straight in and out. If you look at the back here, the back tailgate of a Clio it feels like it's made of paper mache. It is so lightweight, it just feels like if you shut it quickly, it's just going to actually fall apart. So really the epitome of lightweight is the Clio 182. Some of the perks of the car here, one thing I really want to show people, and this is the inside here. So half leather, nice. I think the seats look nice. They've worn very well, I have to say. For this has done 115,000 miles. What hasn't worn as well is the steering wheel. Notorious weak spot for the Clio 182s. They just peel away with temperature. So in the hot, sticky climates of the summer, it literally just peels off in your hand. So there's quite a few people that retrim these, and it's a job that I want to get done. These are mine. The thumb grips here have been replaced. You can replace those, which do help. But as you can see, if you zoom in here, you can see how it peels away. It becomes really sticky. It's the same with the centre dash here. It feels absolutely horrible. I don't know how Renault have managed to find a plastic that degrades to a sticky, touchy feel. It looks horrible, it feels even worse, and certainly that's clearly where they've got this car down to a certain price point, which back in 2005 was about 14,000. Rear space, there's a little lever here, and rear space there. That's my driving position. So it's a little bit tight. You're probably not going to get many people in the back. Headroom isn't too bad, but I have to say it's not great in the back. But again, it is only based on the standard Clio. A few other things I want to show you is under the bonnet. There's a very unusual, if I can find it, way to unleash this. There it is. So if I lift that, which actually, strangely enough, is quite heavy. That's the 2 litre 4-cylinder engine, and then the fantastic dipstick, which if you scan across you'll probably struggle to find, but actually if you look down there is buried, and that's the red handle there, right down in that crevice, just so you can make sure you can get your hand dirty and scratched as you reach down. Why Renault put it there, I do not know. There's got to be an easier access point for it. The other piece I want to show you as well, the other quirk with the Clio, is mine came with this under the seat of the passenger seat is the accident management pack, and if you open it up, in here you can see if I can hold it apart, is a pen, even a crayon, a torch, and fantastically is still in its sealed plastic container, a camera, disposable camera for taking photos should you have an accident. So this just shows you 15 years ago, just pre-smartphones, where we were. My 16-year-old son asked me what that was, and still really doesn't understand the context of a disposable camera when you have smartphones. Absolutely fantastic. Taking a look at all the features of the car. Again, the easy way to spot the difference between a 182 and a 172 is at the back, and that's the twin exhaust that makes, I think, the back of the Clio 182 look really, just the intent that this is actually a sports car at its heart. And I think it's a really, really nice touch, the twin exhaust. Runs on the 16-inch anthracite cup alloys that set it apart. Right, I think that's the the other thing I wanted to say is these. So the headlights here, renowned on Clio 182s to cloud up and discolour. They're notorious for doing that. It was one of the first jobs I did on mine, was to use a polishing kit to actually clean them up. What I failed to do though was seal them after, and so I'm probably going to have to do them again this year, but this time I will seal them after I've done them. But that's the Clio 182, and I think it's about time we took it for a drive to see how it handles. As soon as you get in a 182, it is pretty obvious that the driving position is not absolutely great. But you do see it a little bit high. You're reaching down for the lever that will drop the height and get it really, really low, and it's just unfortunately it's just not there. So you can't get anywhere near as low as you want to be. You feel just a little bit too high. You feel a little bit upright again. There's just all the ergonomics of how you sit is just not, they haven't quite nailed it. Whereas when I drove the Renaultsport Megane last year, that seemed to be so right, the driving position, and it's unbelievable that Renaultsport got it so right with the Megane, but it seemed to have got it so wrong with the Clio. But I have to say, after you've driven it a while, you do fall back into it. I most notice it when I've not driven it for a couple of weeks. I've been driving some of the other cars, I jump in the Clio and I think, and I'm trying to adjust everything to try to get it into the right position, and it never really feels the right position. But if it's your everyday car, if you use it regularly, it will not stop you buying the car. It will not stop you buying the car. It just doesn't ever quite feel right. Okay, let's go and take it for a drive. I only drive this probably once every week, once every couple of weeks. It's not a car that I'm using regularly at the moment. There's a couple of things that when you first get into the car that you notice. The ride is definitely firm, but I think they've got the compliance. It rides well over bumps. Certainly on the sportier side, the suspension, but actually ride quality is pretty good, and especially for such a small lightweight car. It doesn't get thrown around too badly on badly marked surfaces. The other noticeable feature is the steering. It really does feel quite light. The car feels quite darty. It feels on edge, and that's because it's a small, short wheelbase car. This lack of inertia is absolutely evident when you're driving it. You get in this car, you drive it as you would do a normal car. You think it's quite nippy, it's quite fast because of the lightweight, and you're upshifting at sort of 4,000 or 5,000 revs, and you realise that you're driving it at 7/10, 8/10, and you're thinking, yeah, it's quite quick, but I'm not really sure what everyone goes on about. And that's because this really, the 2-litre engine, very much the power is all delivered in those higher revs, and it almost acts like a Honda VTEC type of engine. You don't start getting full power until over 5,200 revs before it kicks. So you'll make swift progress, but it won't really pick up until you get into those higher revs. And if you keep your foot in, as soon as you get to, say, over 5,000, there'll be another kick, and suddenly the car takes off, and the speed that it hunts down B roads is incredible. It's one of those cars that when I took the car into the Elan Valley up in mid Wales with friends, they had a combination of TVR, Cayman S, Porsche Cayman S, and E93 M3. So the M3 had over 400 horsepower, the Cayman S has 320 horsepower, and during the whole day, unless on the longest of straights, they never broke away from the Clio182, and that's because the speed that this can go round and up B roads, twisty, potholed, up and down B roads is quite phenomenal. Somebody once said you rarely have to brake in a Clio182, and you know what? That's sort of right. It just can turn through corners you wouldn't believe. Let's just take it up here, give this a good rev now. Okay. And just feel this now. Take this it's not even at 5,000. Just kicks there at 5,000. And just feel this now turning. Really crisp turn. Really potholed there, and it just kicks and goes. Absolutely goes. Wow, this car is just, yeah, you're up to national speed limit pretty quickly, but you can certainly play in second and third gear, and because it's really short geared, the revs pile on really, really quickly. Now there is a negative to that, there is a con to that, and that con is I took this on probably a 200-mile round trip up to Staffordshire about a month ago, and that was can be quite tiresome on the motorway. It's not refined, it's short geared, so motorway speeds sat at 70, it's quite high, sat high in the rev range. There's far better cars for doing that sort of trips. But if this is all about going out and having great fun on a B road, then you struggle to find something better than this. The one thing this car does suffer with is the brakes weren't great, and after some hard driving in Wales, I did notice that the brake pedal was starting to go a bit soft, a bit squidgy. I suppose that was a bit surprising, because obviously on a track you probably sort of expect that, but I wasn't expecting it up in Wales. So the brakes probably not great, considering they're only hauling down relatively a lightweight car. I'm not sure whether I could live with it on a daily basis. I think the rattling, the knocking, the shaking of the bits, the poor quality of the interior, I sort of ignore that. I think you have to ignore it, because it just lets the car down. They've got cup holders down there that in truth are pretty flipping useless, because anything above a certain height you can't get anything in there. So I think everyday practicality isn't great. As I say, the rear seats there's very little room at all, so they're not great, but I think for me it's a bit of a toy to take out now and again, to have some sort of, well, gives me an experience that none of my other sports cars can be, and that's the lightness, that's the really revvy engine that just you've got to work the engine, and it's just, yeah, it's fabulous to rev this car and drive, and to say the speed that it can take corners is absolutely phenomenal, and the fun, and it's all in a safe manner. It's all within sort of legal speeds. You're not trying to risk your license having fun in this car. In a minute we're going to go out of the 30, so I'm just going to, we're in out of the 40, so we're in the 40-mile-an-hour zone here, so I'm just going to, and we're going to the national speed limit. I'll just open the car up and you can see how it accelerates up this hill, and some great corners up here. Just about to get to national speed limit here. There we go. Really up 4, 5 kicks there, 6, 6.5, 7, up into third, and then just keep it flat through here. It's really, it just absolutely grips here. It really does. Absolutely phenomenal speed. And wow. And this is what this car does. It makes you laugh. It makes you giggle. And that was all within legal speeds, up to the national speed limit. It just again, second, third gear, you just load up that outside tyres, it just grips, the back end comes round really quickly, there's just no understeer at all, and I just think for the drive up to the Elan Valley in Wales really did prove to me, the drive up to the Elan Valley really did prove to me that for, let's say, 2 to 3k outlay, let's say 3k, let's get a really good, nice Clio182 for 3k in today's money. I'm not sure there's a car for 3k on the market today that can go any quicker than a Clio182 on a British UK B road. I can't think of another car that is as quick. I'll be happy for people to drop comments, see if anyone thinks that I'm wrong, but I generally don't think you can go quicker than a Clio182. In fact, I would probably hazard a guess on certain B roads, in the Elan Valley being a pertinent case where there's very few straight bits, so therefore it limits the chance for fast cars to put down huge amounts of power. If this Clio can truly stay with a 400 brake horsepower V8 powered M3, then I'm actually not sure for any money any car could pull away from a well-driven Clio182. I don't know, but it certainly feels like that. And for a car than that. Can you go any quicker for any price on a twisty, up and down, damp B road? I can't think of anything. So reliability wise, only a couple of minor things. Rear light bulb, and there's a video just up there about how I fault diagnosed that, and that was when I braked, the fog light was flickering, and I opened up the back of the lights and found that it was actually just one of the right rear bulb, which was great. The other one is the headlights, which I've talked about. The covers notoriously cloud up, so I got an auto glim kit for that, polished that. There's a video up there about me doing that, so that was great, and it's been really reliable for the 6 months that I've owned her so far. What I've done, this has come with comprehensive full service history, fully receipted, so I've been able to look back at the history of the car to understand what servicing, maintenance, repairs has been done on it. So this car's had an engine oil change each year, so it's had 3 of those in the last 3 years. It's had a transmission gearbox oil change as well in those 3 years. It's had 4 new Michelin Pilot Sport 3s fitted, had a new battery, front and rear discs, and in total it was just under £2,000 spent, and that includes MOTs as well, and a brake hose, etc. A few little bits and pieces, just under £2,000 in the 3 years. So it's averaged out at about £650 per year average over the last 3 years. Incidentally, just over that 3 years, about 3 years and 2 months ago, it had its cam belt, and the cam belt's the big one on the Clio182. You've got to make sure the cam belt's done every 5 or maybe 6, but I think 5 is the better guide to go with. 5 year or 72,000 miles. This was done, say, just over 3 years ago. The cam belt was done, aux belt, dephaser, and at the same time did the water pump, and that all came to, I think, just over £850, I think it was. So if I'd have put that and the 4th year costs into the average, then clearly the average cost would have just increased very slightly. Anyway, I think the final point is on valuations. It took me a while to find this Clio182. I wanted standard, I wanted OEM spec. They're quite hard to find. A lot have been modified, and for good purposes, because the 182s, if you go back probably only a year ago, you could pick up Clio 182s that probably needed some work in and around £1,000. Them days have long gone now, and although you can still get them for probably 1,500 to 2k, you're going to expect they need a bit of TLC, they need a bit of work, might need a cam belt, etc. doing. And certainly good ones, which were probably around 2.5 a year ago, are probably more like 3k now. So prices are firming up, and why is that? Well, it's numbers. So I checked on the internet for the numbers. There was 5,700 182s in 2006 at the end of production that were on the road in the UK. That number has now dropped by 2,000. So now there's only 3,700 left in the UK. So that's dropped by over a third, and it's dropped most recently in the last couple of years. It's absolutely dive-bombing, and that's because cars become so cheap, so affordable, they're just not viable or economically viable to repair, and they go off the road and they're worth more as parts. So the numbers are dropping fast. The other clear indicator for me is the balance of how many are SORN, how many are statutory off the road notifications, so how many are off the road not taxed. That number is increasing quickly. So out of the 3,700, 1,700 of them are SORN. Only 2,000 of them are actually taxed for the road. What does that mean? Well, this means that a lot of cars are these now starting to be bought to probably be stored, to be kept, used as 2nd, 3rd, 4th cars. Pretty much similar to what my plan is for this car as well. It's not going to be my everyday car, and so what happens is they become less become available, and if less become available, there's simple stats around supply and demand change, and suddenly prices start firming up. And what's my summary of the car? I suppose I've owned it for 6 months. I've got no intent of selling anytime soon. I love the car. It's far from perfect. It's rattly. the build quality, the plastics inside, you sit too high. There's lots of negatives with the car, but for me, this is a lightweight car that you will never ever see again. And 1100 kilograms, so few cars now can get anywhere near that sort of weight with a normally aspirated 2-litre engine that revs and wants to be revved, and you can use this car on the road safely. Some cars that are just too powerful, they're just too quick, they're just too quick for the road. This car, you just have fun in the car. The way you can trailblaze into corners that in insane speeds, it just cocks up that rear inside wheel is absolutely addictive. In fact, it's almost the epitome of my name of my channel, Fast and Fun, because for me, that's the best way of explaining what the Clio182 is. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me the thumbs up. Please continue to watch and also subscribe. And I look forward to doing another video very, very soon.